If you're looking for an affordable and efficient way to upgrade the intake on your 2020 or newer 3.6 liter JT Gladiator, this Degen 38 cold air intake in black will be a good kit to take a look into. Now, if you've added some heavier mods to your Jeep and you've noticed a lack in fuel economy and throttle response, this cold air intake will help out by allowing the engine to breathe better and assist when it comes to adding some of that performance back if you lost that. This will also be a great option if you're just tired of replacing your factory filter and want one that you can reuse so you're not constantly doing maintenance to achieve that performance. Now, I do want to call out that this style of intake is not going to be as protective as your factory air box, so I would just recommend this to somebody who's mainly avoiding any heavy mud or heavy water while you're off-road. This intake will feature a straight-through style intake tube to relieve a decent amount of restriction and increase airflow for better fuel efficiency as well as performance that can usually be felt in your throttle response with no tune required. This will also feature a reusable filter that I mentioned to cut down on maintenance while creating a cleaner and more efficient flow of air into your intake system. In addition to the function, this will also just elevate the styling underneath the hood compared to the boring factory plastics with this unique green filter and all black look. Getting into the build of each of the components here, starting off with the heat shield, this is going to be made of a durable steel construction that's going to seal to the hood, and the intake tube is going to have a durable aluminum build to reduce any heat buildup while boasting a tough black powder coat and a stealthy look, in addition to protection to the steel and the aluminum underneath. The filter will be made with a high-flow multi-layer sticky media that will be 100% cleanable, and the rest of the kit will come with all of the hardware, clamps, and the fittings that you need for a snug factory-like fit. Now, this kit will be roughly $200 and is very affordable in comparison to others like it on the page. Now, something simplistic as this kit is usually going to be more on the cost-effective side, and I like the fact that it keeps it simple. It's going to have a no-frill install and is going to get the job done without any excess in components. It's also going to add a very sporty aesthetic to the engine bay with the open heat shield design and this green filter here, while adding a very functional upgrade, and it's going to save you a couple bucks in the meantime. So in my personal opinion, I don't think that you can go wrong with this kit if that's what you're looking for. Now, install is very easy at a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you about a half hour to get the job done with some basic hand tools. Now, at this point, we can head over to the shop and check out a detailed breakdown of the install step by step. So that's going to wrap it up for me. Let's go ahead and get into it.
The tools you're going to need for this install include an electric or regular 3/8 ratchet, a clip removal tool, a 14, 10, and 7mm socket, a razor blade, diagonal cutters, and a 3/8 extension. What's up, guys? Today we're going to be installing a cold air intake on our Gladiator, so let's get started. So first we're going to remove our air temperature sensor, which you're going to press down on this black tab and pull out. Then we can take our clip removal tool and pry up on these clips. Then we can remove our PCV tube by pressing in on this gray tab and pulling out. Now we can remove these two bolts using our 10mm socket. Now we can loosen up these two hose clamps with our 8mm socket. Now we can remove our intake tube. So now we can remove this 10mm bolt with our 10mm socket. Now we can give a tug on our air box. Remove. So if your rubber grommets get removed with the air box, we're going to put them back into position. You just push in. So now that our stock intake system is removed, we're going to swap over our air temperature sensor, and to do so, all you have to do is twist counterclockwise and pull out. So now we can install the rubber grommet into the drilled hole of our new pipe. We're going to get the slot lined up with the metal. Then we can insert our sensor. All you do is press in till it gets to the green O-ring. Now we can insert our mounting studs into the rubber grommets. Get our heat shield lined up with the holes. Now we can take our bolt, lock washer, and washer and thread that into the stud. Same for the other stud. Now we can tighten those two bolts down with our 14mm socket. Now we can remove this bolt with our 10mm socket. Then we can thread in our studded grommet. Then we can get our heat shield lined up with the stud. Then we can take our flat washer and our nut. Then we can tighten this down with our 10mm socket. Now we can slide our larger coupling onto the throttle body. Slide that as far as it'll go. Then we can slide both of our worm clamps over. Then we can take our 7mm socket and tighten up the first one. Then we can slide in our pipe. Again with our 7mm socket. We don't have to tighten this fully, so we can ensure that there's movement for when we install the filter. So now that our pipe is in place, we can reinstall our PCV tube. Press it in until you hear a click. Now you're good. Now we can install our coupler onto the pipe. Slide our first clamp to the end of the coupler. And then our second one will go towards the end once we have our filter adapter that goes through the hole of the heat shield. Then you connect the two. Now you can take your 7mm socket and tighten this down. Same for this clamp. Get it lined up. Now for our filter, we can slide our large clamp over the top. Slide that into our filter adapter. Now we can tighten this clamp down with our 7mm socket. Now for our final step, we'll apply our weather stripping. All you have to do is press down in the middle of the weather stripping. Make a 90-degree turn. Now we can measure out how much more we need. Then we can cut off the excess. Now you can use diagonal cutters to cut the rest of it because there is a metal piece inside. Now we can continue coming down. Now we can take our connector and put that into our air temperature sensor. Push in until you hear a click. So that's going to wrap up the install on our Degen 38 cold air intake for your 2020 and newer 3.6 liter Jeep Gladiator JT. Thanks for watching, and for all things Gladiator, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.